There are just certain pieces of information that come out and truly take me off guard. Seeing this article and others like it come out in the last 24 hours has left me speechless. Trump is up in polling while Democrats are seeing record lows. This is why I've used sarcasm to cope with what is happening. I'm just being very sarcastic and just hoping America gets everything they voted for. And now you have people saying that America's headed in the right direction as they are being led by someone who is blatantly ignoring the Constitution, flaunting it to the judge, flaunting it, daring the judge to do something. And you'll have people say, the wheels of justice move slow. No, they don't. No, they don't. And they are not applied equally either. At all. He was treated differently the entire time. And this is how it's led to where we are now. And now you have him blatantly ignoring judges' orders. And we've seen him over the past 10 years take over the Republican Party. He's neither Republican or Democrat. He just saw an opportunity with Republicans after the birther movement in 2009. And now it's safe to say he's taken over the Democratic Party. They've grown tired. The news media has grown tired, and they capitulate to his framing on issues. Oh, they have a problem with an anchor? What do? A bunch of mass firings. NBC. CNN has completely capitulated to the right, having conspiracy theorists on almost every night. So, and you have Dems now not even putting up a fight. Schumer just not even putting up a fight at all. Just capitulating. Just spineless. So it's safe to say that he has taken over the Democratic Party. And I make these videos, and I am really beginning to ask myself, who's on my side? Who's out there that's on my side? I know we're seeing all these people out in protest. That's great. That's great. Are we holding our leadership accountable for their inaction? I would say for their actions, but for their inaction. Because silence is complacency. Breaking news all over the timeline for a rebuke. For a rebuke from the Supreme Court justice who gave Trump absolute immunity, who can unalive a political rival, and it would be considered a presidential act, was just given a rebuke. Oh, thank you. What will he ever do now that he's been rebuked? Would it make you feel any better that it's a rare rebuke? It's rare. It's like a Pokemon. It's so rare for a rebuke. The guy who's literally shredding the Constitution before our eyes was just given a rebuke. Oh, what? Oh, this is the answer to all of our prayers. He's flaunting court orders, flaunting it. Does not even care about it. Oh, you give him a court order? Who cares? They're going to film themselves breaking that court order. But at least, long last, almost 250 years of this country, we finally get a rebuke. Oh, this is going to change everything. Is this as powerful as a Democrat slamming Trump on CNN or MSNBC? Oh, they slammed him. Did it do anything? Did they actually stand up when they could and filibuster? No, but they slammed him really good on CNN. At least they slammed him. Oh, at least we get a rebuke. You gave him absolute immunity, but then you're going to rebuke him a little bit, a little slap on the wrist. Happy first day of spring. It's officially been 2 full months of the Trump presidency. Greatness is here, and it's been for real. When does the farewell tour begin? When does the farewell tour begin? When does he start bidding his farewell, knowing that he cannot run for a third term? When does the farewell tour begin? He ran the longest campaign in American history. He is one for drolling things out. So when does it start? Happy. If a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be. Quote by Thomas Jefferson. For centuries, books were restricted from the general public. The church wanted people illiterate, wouldn't even allow them to read the Bible. In America, slave owners wouldn't allow their slaves to read or write. As Frederick Douglass said, knowledge unfits a child to be a slave. Once you learn to read, you will be forever free. This is what they want. This is what he wants. An ignorant populace. He loves the uneducated. In 2024, only 2 states voted unanimously. So I love this graphic. Oklahoma, 44th in education, 49th in healthcare, 44th in quality of life. Then you've got Massachusetts, 1st in education, 2nd in healthcare, 1st in quality of life. And there is a huge misconception about the Department of Education, a lot of lies about the Department of Education, about what it does, okay? It promotes equal access to education for all students across the country, especially those who are low income, have disabilities, or face discrimination. Provides funding to states, schools, and colleges like Pell Grants and Title I aid. Enforces civil rights laws to make sure schools don't discriminate based on race, gender, or disability. What it does not do, it does not create school curriculums. It does not mandate what teachers teach in the classroom. It does not hire or oversee teachers. It does not make decisions about textbooks, classroom content, teaching methods. Teaching methods are made at the state and local levels, often by school boards and departments of education within each state. So if you want to complain about America's standing in the world as it pertains to education, and you want to put that solely on the Department of Education, you are woefully misled. This is going to make Americans less competitive and less hireable. And it's going to greatly hurt his own constituents. But alas, he does not care, because it's top versus bottom. It's not left versus right. It's top versus bottom. And as long as he can keep people ignorant, they're easier to control. You're going to tell me someone who has a 3rd grade mentality is harder to control than someone with a master's degree? And you could say, oh, it's only going to hurt people of color. This is not so. Although they will be hurt by this, and even special needs, which coming from the pro-life people is quite shocking, but not surprising. Many rural and conservative-leaning states where populations are often majority white are among the largest per capita recipients of federal education funding, especially Title I funding for low-income students and special education support. But alas, he's in Mar-a-Lago and the oligarchy's here. They don't need this. They can send their kids to private school. They don't need public school. And see my previous video about the school to prison pipeline and what this has done for private prisons in America. Their stocks are skyrocketing. So greatness is here. If a nation expects to be ignorant, where are my Miami Cubans at? Stand up for what you supported in 2024. Stand up for what you supported. Oh, you thought he wasn't talking about you, right? He wasn't talking about you. He was talking about the illegals. Even though we tried to tell you, if your skin color was brown and you talk Spanish, he wants you out of the country. You thought, oh, he's not talking about me. We tried to warn you. The mass deportations in U.S. history affect communities of color indiscriminately. How do they know if you're undocumented or not? They're going to harass you. So even revoking legal status for 500,000 Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans, how are they going to find out which ones just lost their legal status? Where are they going to find them? They're going to be searching these neighborhoods, as they have been already. You know, when I moved from Michigan to Florida, I was young, naive. I didn't know what had happened in 2000, but I was shocked when I learned that Cubans in Miami were Republicans. Because coming from Michigan, I knew who the Republicans were. And they couldn't stand the Cubans. And it's like, you're voting for people who can't stand you. They tolerate you because you stay in Miami and you're not venturing out to Iowa. You're not venturing out into the Midwest to realize that the people you're supporting want you out of their country. FAFO. FAFO. Let's stand up and own what you supported. Round of applause. Greatness is here. Enjoy it. I think he's going to be coming after Palestinian protesters. Whoever is showing any support for those in Gaza and what they are experiencing, he is going to come after with the full might of the law. And Pam Bondi has said as such. I think he's going to put pressure on these universities, which we're already seeing work. He's approved $5 billion in arms to Israel. He's signaled that he wants to take over the beaches there. And as we see these atrocities be committed, he knows that it's going to draw people out in protests. And we're going to see him abuse the Patriot Act. He's already calling Palestinian protesters terrorist sympathizers. And in some cases, straight up calling them terrorists. So he's going to abuse the Patriot Act. And once you are labeled a terrorist, you lose rights, even if you are an American citizen. And we see his expanding of Guantanamo Bay. Once you touch down there, you lose all rights. Even if they do an oopsie where they've deported citizens by accident, we still don't know the identity and the cause of all of those Venezuelans who are just sent to El Salvador, where, again, as soon as they touch down, they lose all rights. We've already seen citizens have to be flown back. And I've seen comments of people saying, well, they got brought back, just completely missing the point of what is happening before our eyes, one step at a time. And he's defying all of these court orders, blatantly so in the case of the Venezuelans to El Salvador. And if he can abuse that, a law from 1798, he's going to abuse other laws as well, i.e. the Patriot Act. He is already in these speeches calling the media illegal and using the word terrorist, terrorist sympathizer over and over again. He's normalizing it one step at a time. So you start with one group, and then it's the next group, and the next group, and the next group. Trans people already getting wiped off official government documents, just trying to say that they don't exist. It happens one step at a time. So we're already using laws from 1798. Think about who didn't have rights in America then. It is one law at a time. And the problem that we're seeing is a lack of empathy. We saw it in the previous video about Miami Cubans. Selfishness. Oh, he's not talking about me. Therefore, I don't care what happens to them as long as it doesn't happen to me. Oh, now it's happening to me. Now I'm upset. Now it's affecting me. I don't have any empathy for anybody but myself. So even if I am inconvenienced in the slightest, I don't care about others. I care that it's happening to me. Where I'm coming from, if you are not okay with an act happening at all, I am focused on the act and not who it is affecting in the here and now. The act is still the act. And if we tolerate it for one group of people, it's onto the next, and onto the next, and onto the next. And that's where the frustration with the Democratic Party is, which leads us back to Israel strikes Lebanon now. So now they're striking Gaza and now into Lebanon. And you have Democrats who are terrified of standing up against Israel, not realizing how many votes they are throwing aside when they do that. sending people like Richie Torres to talk to Michigan voters is about as tone deaf as you can be. You just told a whole group of voters in a key swing state, my home state of Michigan, that you don't care what is happening to their family members. And then you wonder why they don't come out and vote for you. And you have people on that side as well, not just who are directly affected, but who have empathy for what they are experiencing and the frustration that they had with Biden not standing up enough to Netanyahu, condemning the actions of Russia, but not Israel. Moral inconsistency. And we have to be consistent, and we cannot sacrifice our definition of morality, of intolerance. And I've talked about the paradox of tolerance. No, we don't have to be tolerant of everybody. I don't have to be tolerant of schmatzis out here. No, and I don't want them on my team. But the problem is with many Democrats, they actually do want them on their team. They think they can get their vote while they ignore 10 others on the other side. No. It's frustrating. So the question of who I think he's coming for next, it's not going to stop. It's going to keep going to the next group and the next group and the next group until people realize it's not left versus right, it's top versus bottom. And the greediest man, like what I just heard, not calling Elon the richest man in the world, but the greediest man in the world, doesn't need Social Security, doesn't need affordable health care or just given health care. He can afford the best. And I think we're going to see a major shift too, and see how far some of these police officers are willing to go for their dear leader, who is immune from the Constitution, who can take out political rivals as a presidential act. We have to fight the oligarchy as AOC and Bernie are doing right now. Doing it right. There are those out there who are standing up, who have a backbone. We have to stand for something, or in the morning. I think he's